Broadcasting from the studios of WKEN, where every day it's the weekend. It's the Ken Calvert Show with your host, Ken Calvert.
This is, we're ready. Levels look pretty good. Everybody's ready to rock and roll, right? I think so. So we go 3, 2, 1. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Ken Calvert Podcast. We are coming to you from the cozy studios of WKEN, where every day is the weekend, and welcome to the Ken Calvert Show podcast. I subscribe to a bundle of really great music sites, and every morning get up and I look to see what happened on this day in rock and roll history. Now, I'll give you an example. Last week, the Isle of Wight Festival, 1969, followed Woodstock by 2 weeks. Most of the same talent pool that was at Woodstock went to the Isle of Wight. There were a ton of celebrities that just went to watch: George Harrison, Ringo Starr, John Lennon. And then I saw that also Liz Taylor and Richard Burton. And I had to say, what? Wait. And why? I digress. So on Twitter, each and every morning, if you care to follow me, I will post something from this date in rock and roll history. You can follow me at Calvert WCSX. So as I like to do each and every morning, I get up about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. God, I wish I was back in college and I could sleep until 12 noon, 1 o'clock, but I can't. So I get up and I start reading about rock and roll. And today I found out that on this date, in 1966, Donovan's Sunshine Superman went to number 1 on the Billboard charts. It was only there for a week, but great song. Donovan Leach. We all remember Donovan, right? So I started thinking, wait a minute, Calv, I think somewhere in the archives you have a Donovan interview. So I spent the next 2.5 hours looking. Long story short, I found it. And it's so damn good, I think, not me, him, that I thought I had to play it for you. So welcome to the podcast. Can I quote Kenny Bania from the Seinfeld show? This is gold, Kenny. Gold. Play it for the people. So here you go. Enjoy. And once again, thank you for joining us here on the Ken Calvert Show podcast from WKEN. You want to just start rolling here? What a great honor it is for me right now to look to my left. And let me just say one word. Donovan. Hello, Donovan. How are you?
Very well. Good morning. Hello. Good evening. Hello.
And no, it's morning, as we all know, but you musicians, of course, you don't keep nearly the rugged lifestyle that you probably once did.
Well, yeah, my rugged lifestyle began when I left home about 16 and a half years of age, and I was hitchhiking around. I was like Woody Guthrie, Jack Kerouac. I was the vagabond, and I lived quite a rugged existence then. But that was part of the 60s party, and then the party turned into making music for me, and then the 60s, of course, and it's famous for its hell-raising, I guess. For
the sake of the people that, like me, lived and enjoyed the 60s, loved the 60s, and to me, the music of the 60s still reigns supreme. You were how old when you delivered your first recording to the record company?
Well, as I say, I was hitchhiking around. I played in a club in the east of England in a town called Southend on the coast there, around about when I was 17. So when I was 18, and by the time I was 18, a couple of months later, I was in the studio making a demo. So I was 18, just turned
18, and had been playing guitar for how long?
About a year.
Just about a year.
Yeah.
And got pretty darn good at it pretty quick, didn't you?
Well, when I listened the other night, I was thinking about this record, Sutras, we just made.
Yes, let's mention that's available.
Yeah, it's a new record I'm out here with in America. But when Rick Rubin, my producer, pointed me back down the road of my musical history, he said, why don't you listen to that early album you made in 1965? So I went out and bought a Donovan CD.
Excuse me, I want to stop you right now. What do you mean you went out and bought? What do you mean?
Well, I didn't have this one. No, you know.
For being a guest on our show,
Yeah.
we are going to give you a catalog of Donovan CDs.
Well, the new CDs have been coming out over the last 5 years, and I didn't have the fairy tale one, you see. So I got this one, and I listened to me when I was 18. And I said to myself, my God, that kid's great.
Yes.
And then I thought, how long had I been playing? And it was about a year. Now, I'd absorbed, like a sponge, so much music then.
As I think about listening to Sutras, and I'm not obliging you, it doesn't sound to me like you've missed a lick. You sound as good as ever. I will say you're probably playing better given the amount of time that you've had to continue your art on the guitar.
Yeah, I mean...
where have you been? Where has Donovan been?
Well, you know, it's hard to thumbnail sketch almost 15, 20 years because by the time I was 26, it was 1970, I had pretty much done everything that any young singer-songwriter could do. I mean, starting at 18, which is early.
I think so.
And producing so much material, I'd done it. I basically had 13 hit singles. I did 10 cult albums. I'd played in all the concert halls in the actual total world. I had 200 covers of my songs. I counted among my friends all the contemporary artists of the day.
Including the Beatles.
The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Kinks, the Who, the Hollies, the Moody Blues, and in America, the Byrds and Dylan and Joan Baez and Pete Seeger. This was quite an achievement by the age of 26. Now what? I said, what do I do now? I'm not really an entertainer, I said to myself. And on this huge tour in 1970 in Japan, it began in Japan, it was a year's exile to make more money than any young singer-songwriter had ever made before. Tax exile is where you stay away for 1 whole year from your own country and you make as much money as you can. But that wasn't the idea. I just wanted to travel one more time into the 70s. 2 months into it, I said, that's it, I'm breaking the exile. Agents were on their hands and knees with their pleading with me to not go on the British Airways jet. I did. My tax exile finished, I arrived back in England, and I wasn't bombed out on drugs or alcohol. I was exhausted.
Mm-hmm. I bet you would be.
I had a small nervous breakdown, which I suppose is really, there's no such thing as a small nervous breakdown. Yeah. But I arrived back in my little cottage. I'd rented to 2 American girls. One of them was over at Clapton's house for a week-long party. She came back 2 days later with a girlfriend. That girl was my teenage muse from 1965, Linda, who I wrote all the songs for. Now, this was what I was missing, the companion. I started a family. The 70s, I made 9 albums in the 70s. And we had kids and lived a private life, but I continued to make records. In the 80s, I made 3 more records. Then I stopped. 12 records in the 70s and the 80s. And what really more could I do? I really didn't feel connected. I tell you the truth, I didn't feel connected anymore because my music works best in response. 6 years of the 80s was quite a dark crisis time for me, but Linda stood by me. Musical crisis, personal crisis, that time of one's life, the middle years. And then the 90s came round and Linda pointed to the TV and the radio and said, look, something is happening that you can respond to. And it was true. The 90s do look like the 60s turned upside down or inside out. And so many things that are happening in the 90s, I can respond to again. So here I am.
Given the state of radio today, first of all, your opinion of the music of the 90s, now the mid-90s, and 2, where does a Donovan CD get played?
Well, I tell you, when the 90s began, it was clear that jazz and world music, acoustic instruments, and 60s type themes were coming back into the music. Young people were coming to me. So I could respond to that. Now, the slot that I had in the 60s doesn't seem to have been filled. It's a kind of an odd, kind of rarefied music I make. I was there in the 60s, never severing the excitement, but right there with all the excitement of rock and roll.
Well, and so really creating it then.
In a way, I was moving air. I was moving musical air in the 60s. So where do I fit in now? Now, the odd thing is, my fans, my young fans, could be my children.
Yes.
You see? So, in actual fact, the 22, 3, 4, 5-year-olds could be my own kids, and this age group that is in the 90s actually likes the music their parents play, which is different from my generation in the 60s. So so far the record's only been out 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So where it will go, we don't know. But Rick Rubin and I wanted to make a record that pleased us first and was essentially a Donovan album. So there we are.
And I know that you see this all the time, because I see it all the time, as one that still goes to many, many shows. It's very exciting for me at age 45 to see so many parents bringing their kids and celebrating the sounds together. It's for the children the first time, and for the parents maybe the 34th time.
Well, they probably heard their parents' records as they grew up.
Yeah.
But also it's more than that. It's the roots of popular music influence the generations ahead. So black music and folk music influenced the 60s. That's obvious. So the 60s music is influencing the young artists of the 90s. It's kind of roots and branches, you know.
My guest here in the studio this morning is Donovan Leach, and the new CD is out. It's called Sutras. You're going to perform something for us. Boy, in the past couple of weeks, we've had B.B. King in the studio.
Excellent.
We've had some great performers. Sutras is out, and you're going to do something from the CD right now.
I would love to. This is the opening track on my new record, and it's called Please Don't Bend. Talking along a lonely shore, with your hair blowing soft on the breeze. I do dream you into my life. Gift me your love if you please. Please don't bend my heart made of glass. I can't promise to be here for you. Please don't bend my heart. She said to me, I can't promise to be here, be here, be here for you. Your kisses are sweeter than wine. Music floats on the breeze from the town. I lead you, holding your hand in mine. Please don't bend my heart, she said to me. I can't promise to be here for you. Please don't bend my heart, made of glass. I can't promise to be here, be here, be here for you.
It's just me, but
good.
I'm sure there are lots of people right now.
Thank you.
That was beautiful.
Thanks.
You know, it's just not fair sometimes. It's just not fair.
What's that?
Why can't I do that? Why can't I sit down and... You have children, right?
Yeah. Did you ever play?
No. I tried, and I got as far as B-flat boogie.
Yeah, I got 5 children. 2 very visual ones from California who I didn't raise, Dono and Ione, but they're raised with their mum over there. And I've got 3 in Britain who I did raise. All of them involved somewhere in the arts. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you must have, in the evenings, serenaded the little ones to
oh God, yes,
off to sleep. And
of course. Well, they thought it was natural. They didn't know,
sure.
They didn't know another 500,000 people were listening to 2 of my records at the same time.
Well, can I ask you to do one more, and then we'll
gosh,
if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to put you on the spot. Talking about the new CD Sutras, Donovan, and this one is?
This one's called Sleep. talking about singing to the little ones. Sleep now, sleep, and so fades sorrow. Sleep, beloved, sleep. Sleep now, sleep, a far tomorrow. Sleep, beloved, sleep. You go home this night, home of stillness, your home of autumn, summer and spring. You go home this night, lasting home, eternal home, your eternal home. Sleep now, sleep, and so fades sorrow. Sleep, beloved, sleep. Sleep now, sleep, a far tomorrow. Sleep, beloved, sleep. Sleep of 7 lights upon you. Sleep of 7 joys. Sleep of 7 slumbers on you in your easy poise. Just banged into the microphone there, didn't I? You want to do this again? You want to start again?
It's fine with me.
Okay. Sorry about that. I got carried away there.
No.
This song goes like this. Sleep now, sleep, and so fades sorrow. Sleep, beloved, sleep. Sleep now, sleep, a far tomorrow. Sleep, beloved, sleep. You go home this night, home of stillness, your home of spirit, being and bliss. You go home this night, lasting home, eternal home, your eternal home. Sleep now, sleep, and so fades sorrow. Sleep, beloved, sleep. Sleep now, sleep, a far tomorrow. Sleep, beloved, sleep. Sleep of 7 lights upon you. Sleep of 7 joys. Sleep of 7 slumbers on you in your easy poise. Sleep now, sleep, and so fades sorrow. Sleep, beloved, sleep. Sleep now, sleep, a far tomorrow. Sleep, beloved, sleep.
Boy, I mean, can you be any nicer? Would you take your nice guy pills today or something?
You know, it's the line of least resistance. It's the philosophy. It's the philosophy of life.
Yeah. On the way in the elevator, it'll be, oh boy, that was brutal. I'm glad we did it. Now let's get some coffee and get the heck out of this building.
No.
Donovan Leach is my guest here in the studio, and we're talking about Sutras, the CD available in stores everywhere. You haven't missed a beat. You sound as good as ever. You look as good as ever.
Thank you.
And you promised me just before we went to break that you would actually do hurdy-gurdy for us.
I would love to. It's not one of those songs which artists with a history as long as mine. Some artists say, "Oh, I'm not going to play that."
Yeah, right.
I like this song, and I do play it. And for you, it is coming right up. Thrown like a star in my vast sleep, I opened my eyes to take a peep, to find that I was by the sea, gazing with tranquility. 'Tis then when the hurdy-gurdy man comes singing the songs of love. Then when the hurdy-gurdy man comes singing the song of love. Hurdy-gurdy, hurdy-gurdy, hurdy-gurdy-gurdy, he sang. Hurdy-gurdy, hurdy-gurdy, hurdy-gurdy-gurdy, he sang. Hurdy-gurdy, hurdy-gurdy, hurdy-gurdy-gurdy, he sang. Histories of ages past, unenlightened, the shadows cast down through all eternity, the crying of humanity. 'Tis then when the hurdy-gurdy man comes singing the songs of love. Then when the hurdy-gurdy man comes singing the song of love. Hurdy-gurdy, hurdy-gurdy, hurdy-gurdy-gurdy, he sang. Hurdy-gurdy, hurdy-gurdy, hurdy-gurdy-gurdy, he sang. Hurdy-gurdy, hurdy-gurdy, hurdy-gurdy-gurdy, he sang.
Yes, thank you. You had so many friends, so many very talented friends. You were close with the Beatles. You spent some time. Didn't John Lennon actually come to you at some point regarding some guitar, maybe technique or lesson? Was it Julia that I'm thinking of? And as I follow up with that, I thought I read something about Across the Universe, and you may be covering that someday.
Yeah, you heard right. We were in India meditating, but we didn't leave the guitars back in London. We took them with us. Mm-hmm. So we took our guitars. We took Ringo was on the tablas. George, Paul, John, and I were playing our guitars. And during that long period, 6 weeks in India, John wanted to learn some of the guitar styles I had. So I taught him, and he wrote 2 songs out of that, Julia and Dear Prudence. I learned a lot of Indian ideas from George. And we came back. They made their White Album, and I made Hurdy-Gurdy Man. During the recording of the Across the Universe, I was around at that time, and it seemed such a song that I could do.
What a great
and I
song.
haven't yet done it yet, and I really still would like to do John's song.
So you can't do it for us right now?
A little bit. I guess I'm working on it. Pools of sorrow, waves of joy are drifting through my open mind, inviting me, inciting me across the universe.
Sounds to me like we're ready to take it right to the studio level. It's been such a treat, and I know you're going to be out for the next couple of weeks and whatnot on this Media Blitz.
Yes.
What about seeing you in concert? Hopefully a small hall. And
okay, well, what's happening is media. No single into the new year, because we wanted to softly approach with this new album, and then in January and February, plans to come back doing a tour of the world, small concert halls, very, very intimate, and pretty much everywhere.
Can I, I'm being very selfish, but you're in great voice today. We've got the coffee going. Can we go back? By the way, the guitar is beautiful. How many guitars do you own?
Well, actually, Jimmy Page has 100, but I only have 12.
And Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick, I believe, has 450. But I think you only need one if you play it well.
Well, this one is called a Farrington, and I had it made last year to commemorate my return to the recording.
It's gorgeous.
Business.
It's sort of a green and blue
and red.
And red.
It's kind of it's based on an Irish book called the Book of Kells. So it has a a theme to it, and it has a sound. Of
Donovan
course.
Leach is my guest here on News Talk 760 WJR. Sutras, the CD, is now available in record stores everywhere. All Donovan fans should pick this up. Tremendous. And
Good,
I
I'm
promise
glad.
you, many plays at WKEM. That's what I call my
Thank
house.
you.
Whatever you would like to play.
Oh, gosh.
Anything you want. Old or new.
Well, let's see something here. How about... looking for some sunshine. Sunshine came softly through my window today. Could have tripped out easy, but I changed my way. It'll take time, I know it, but in a while, gonna be mine, I know it. We'll do it in style. When you made your mind up that you're going to be mine, I'll pick up your hand, I'll pick up your hand and slowly blow your little mind. How's that?
That was absolutely wonderful. Donovan, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Continued good luck, continued success, good health, be well. Thank you again, my friend.
You can subscribe to the Ken Calvert Show podcast on Apple iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. It's also available by going directly to www.thekencalvertshow.com. You can reach Ken at kencalvertpodcast@gmail.com. The preceding program is the property of Ken Calvert and may not be rebroadcast without the written permission of Ken Calvert.